So, hey guys, we're in Palos Verdes, Southern California, and I got to meet with a family. We got Victor here.
Yeah.
We got
Hi.
Carla.
Yeah.
And Paula.
Hi.
Awesome. So I was excited about this because we're looking at a couple of really special bikes from Bulls today. We've got like a women's bike. It's full suspension. So, you know, a lot of the line is kind of like more masculine colors, and the geometry, it tends to be a little bit bigger, but women on average sometimes a little bit more petite. And it can be difficult to like stand over the frame and handle it. My girlfriend has had trouble a couple times. We were mountain biking where we had to stop, and then she kind of, and you know, it's not a lot of fun. So you want a bike that fits you if you're a little bit, you know, like you're still growing, all that kind of stuff. So we've also got a kid's bike right here. So I wanted to give you guys an overview on how these work and let you answer questions or ask questions in real time. And since they all use the Bosch system, I thought maybe we could do that on the smaller bike because it's going to be easier to look at. Is that okay?
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so follow me over here. Let's see. What I like about the 24E is that it actually has a kickstand back here. But since we're on a slanted driveway, we're probably just going to have to hold it up. The Aminga over here does not have a kickstand. It's because it's like a real mountain bike. And most people who are riding off-road, you hear the you don't want the kickstand noise, right? So, you know, the kind of the guys' bikes over there that Victor and I are going to ride, they don't have kickstands. So anyway, we're looking at this bike. The reason it's called the 24E is because it's electric, and the 24 refers to these 24-inch tires. So they're a little bit smaller, whereas that one has 27.5 inch. And you see the smaller wheel diameter brings the center of the wheel lower, and it makes the whole bike lower so you can stand over it without struggling, have a little bit better balance. It also has an adjustable seat, so you can slide that down a little bit and make sure you're comfortable. We can mess with that before we go for a ride. But I thought it'd be nice to start out with the electric components, like the battery and everything like that.
Yeah.
So that's the battery, and it's right in the middle of the frame. It's designed to be out of your way so you won't kick it won't get damaged. Also, the motor is right down here, and this one uses the Active Plus motor, so it's a little bit quieter, a little bit smoother, and the top speed is 25 kilometers per hour, which is about 15.5, whereas the big kids bike or the women's bike, the kind of the grown-up bikes, they go about 32 kilometers per hour, 20 miles per hour, right? We're all on the same page. So the operation of this bike is actually pretty simple. Do you remember yesterday, Paolo, how to turn it on?
No.
Okay, here, come on over there, this way. So this is the little computer, the display panel. There's a button on top. You press power, like this, and it blinks to life. And what we're looking at is speed. Right now it's in miles per hour, but you guys are from Spain, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're used to kilometers per hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you wanted to switch, we would hold the minus key and press power, and now it's in kilometers per hour.
Oh, okay.
So it's,
Awesome. Easy.
kind of nice, right? That's speed at the top. We've got a little menu here I'm going to get back to, and then the battery. So the battery has 5 bars, and that directly relates to how full it is down here. There's actually another LED indicator on the side, so it kind of matches. The neat thing about these bikes is you can actually take the battery off. So if you've ever, tried to lift one of these bikes, this is actually 45 pounds. And this other one over here is like 52 pounds, 53 pounds. So, and again, I'm sorry, I'm not doing the metric conversion like real time here, but they're a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
The battery pack right here, this is 5.7 pounds all on its own. So it's neat to be able to take the battery off. You've even got quick release on the wheels on both of these bikes. So you can take the wheels off. You could fix a flat easily, put it inside your car instead of out of your car, those kinds of things, and maybe as the parent, it's like, okay, how do we manage this? We got extra weight. And then you come back up to the display panel and you think, okay, like how full is the battery? Are we going to be able to go all the way together and make it home where, someone doesn't get stuck behind and tired? That's the whole point. So one of the really neat features here is if we hold the minus key, so there's plus and minus, we hold the minus key, it gives us range. So range is an estimate based on the remaining battery capacity and the last mile of riding. So if you've been riding hard and you're like getting exercise, it's going to estimate that you can go further.
Okay.
And that way you can all stick together. So I'm going to arrow down to Eco. That's the lowest level. It says 193 kilometers. It's pretty far, for one charge. If we arrow up higher, you get more assist, and it's going to help you climb better and maybe go a little faster, but your range goes down.
And the range is lower.
Yeah, a little bit down. The other, on the minus key, if we hold that for a second, it also shows us the assist level. We hold it for a second more. Trip distance, so that's how far this bike has gone recently. And then odometer, total distance, that's the lifetime on this bike. So it's only gone 4 kilometers. It's basically brand new.
Yeah, it is.
And then the other thing, do you notice anything that's kind of unique about the 24E compared to all the other bikes out here today? Besides the awesome colors. Maybe you want to go riding at night.
It has lights, right?
You got it. Paolo got it. Very observant. So this one has lights, and they're built right in. Hey, do you see that? And there's a headlight up here.
Oh, yeah.
So if you wanted to activate those, and sometimes it's a good idea even during the day just to have a little extra light, especially if you're a younger person and you're below where the cars can see, you hold the plus button. So we do that for a second, and then the lights would come on. So do you guys have any questions before maybe we hop on these and go for a little ride?
No, I think it's okay.
Feels pretty good.
Get excited about it.
Right? Yeah, that's a lot of talking. I know. It's like, let's get on these things. Do you know how to shift gears?
Yeah.
Okay, so they got the triggers right over here. The little one, that goes and makes it harder, which would make you go faster. So they call that like a higher gear. And then the big one right here, that makes it a little easier for climbing and going slower.
Okay.
So, one of the neat things on the Bosch system, that motor down there, is that when you shift gears, it's smart enough to kind of listen and say, oh, they're shifting. Like, I'm going to ease off on the motor so you don't bang up the drivetrain. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions, Paula, or just any thoughts before?
I don't.
You feeling good?
Yeah.
Okay. You guys are great listeners. I guess we're all ready. Why don't you come over to the ladies' bike here, pick it up, and maybe power it up. Make sure that everything's good. There you go. Power button. A lot of times when I'm starting out on one of these bikes, I'll pick a lower level of assist. So, you can press the plus button, eco, or yesterday when you were riding at night, I think you were on maybe tour, like one more up.
Yes, I was.
Oh, and did you notice that it didn't click there when you were pushing on it? I've noticed that these buttons, they kind of angle in, and so you kind of have to push closer to the display like that. There we go. So this is the thing. As someone who, I ride a lot, I go out on the trails and stuff, and I put my seat post pretty high because I want to get like full leg extension. So these guys are setting it up so that they can kind of sit on the saddle on their tippy toes and feel stable. But then, you just stepped forward and got it. Victor, do you want to pick up the fat bike here and we can walk them down to the street and everything. You guys are doing good. Are you feeling okay?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Eco, tour, sport, or turbo.
If I were you, I would start out in eco mode.
Okay.
And maybe even off. Like, it's up to you, but eco's pretty gentle. This motor is a little bit more smooth than the rest of us. That's a good question. Sorry I left you hanging. The other thing is, I'm not sure what gear these bikes are in. Sometimes you get on a brand new bike and someone left it in a high gear and it's like, oh, so slow and difficult. Just try to stay balanced and use that big shifter to go down to lower gears if you need to, okay?
Okay.
I have a question. So
Yeah.
When we finish the ride, how do you charge it?
Oh, how do you charge it? That's a great question. So over on the other side of the battery pack, we've got this little rubber door right here. So you can just plug in this charger, or just right there, like that, and then plug it into the wall. Uh-oh, you all right? Yeah. You're doing fine. So that's a great question. It takes about 4.5 hours to charge. And again, it should take you, in terms of miles, maybe like 30 to 70 miles. And then, kilometers are a little bit different. Do you guys need help switching to kilometers? Are you okay?
I'm okay.
You okay with that? Okay. Sweet. Any more questions?
No.
All good. Okay, well, let's do it. So at this point, please, keep an eye out for cars. We all have our helmets on and stuff. Just ride around, kind of do your own thing. After a little bit of riding, I might come next to you and kind of film you or something like that, and we can come back here and then have a more conversation. So I might speak with each one of you just a little bit. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, let's ride safe. In fact, if we go up to the right, there's like a cul-de-sac kind of area. There we go. Good job shifting. She's zipping. Let's turn right here. Yeah. Is it feeling okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys having fun?
Yeah.
We, she changed to the turbo, to the maximum,
Yeah.
you know.
Oh
power.
yeah? Yeah?
Yeah. How did you feel?
It was very fast from eco, because I had it in eco and later I put it on turbo, and and you just like go a little bit and you just go straight super fast.
That's fun. It's nice to see the smiles, you know, we're all having fun. It's
I've
healthy.
been riding, you know, mountain bikes almost for the last, I don't know, 25 years, you know, but normal mountain bike.
Yeah.
So riding this is like you feel the power, you know, when you, I am now in, I don't know, mountain bike.
The EMTB mode, huh?
AMTV, and you feel that when you go up, it's like you are expecting, you know, to the normal speed you have when you are in a normal mountain bike, but
Yeah.
it's just faster. It
Gives you the zip.
Yeah.
And this one has the fat tires and everything. How do
Yeah.
those feel? Is that different?
Yeah, it's different, you know. Yeah.
It's kind of fun to get out together. Her bike is a little bit more limited, like 15.5 miles per hour, but it seems like she was keeping up with you. That feel okay speed-wise?
Yeah.
Safe and everything?
Yeah, I think it's okay, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. That was great feedback. I really appreciate it, Carla. There they go. So take your time. Feel free to mess with the gears on the right. Just on your own time. Like, I'll give you some space. Sweet. She's zooming. Seems like everyone's doing okay stopping too, right? The brakes are working well. One of the things I like about, you know, the kids' bike here has hydraulic brakes. So, you know, you only have to use a couple fingers. You don't have to have stronger hands. Can you tell me how it's been feeling? Do you feel stable?
Yeah. And also, what I like about this bike is like the other ones, when you go down the hill, you stay like not that fast, but later I went right down this hill, and I just pedaled, you know, and later I stayed in the same speed, and I didn't have to, you know, pedal more.
Really, and now we get to come up that hill. So I'm kind of curious to see how that goes for you. What we just did is we all got going a little faster, and we're probably in higher gears. I know I am. So when I start again, I'm gonna be like, kind of struggling. So that's why I tried to stop us before the stop sign so we'd have a little runway. We wanna listen to make sure there aren't any cars, and we wanna kind of make a U-turn and go back up, okay? So I'm gonna stay here. Do you guys wanna give that a try? Okay. And Paula, are you doing okay?
Yes.
I realize that, you know, it's true these motors are very sensitive and responsive. Her drive system is more like yours. It's more sporty, whereas yours is meant to be kind of smooth and a little bit more natural. So that's the thing about the higher end, kind of a mountain bike drive system. Does it feel a little more stable than before, or are you still
It does.
a little bit? Okay, so switching gears maybe smooth it out a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that was the problem, that it was like really low gear.
Low gear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you're doing well riding, and we can turn it around and just head back that way when you guys are ready. Great. Ride safe. Oh yeah. Good job. Nice. There you go. Looking a lot smoother now. Great job. You doing okay?
Yeah.
Are you in turbo mode or what?
Yeah.
Straight to turbo, huh? And you too. You were zipping right off the starting line there. Awesome. Hey guys, we're on the right seat stay on the smaller bike here. This is the 24. Carla's going to be riding it, so you've got kind of front row seats to the motor and the chain and everything. I just thought this would be a fun camera angle. So good luck. So you see my seat right now? Check this out. Right? Thank you so much. That's fun. Let's try it off. But I had a good time doing this. I really appreciate your time. Do you have any other things to add before?
Yeah, when so I was over there and I stopped, and later I just pedaled a little bit, and the bike went like whoa, and I'm like whoa.
Victor, again, thank you for sharing some time with your family and going on camera. The thing about these bikes is they're neat and they're empowering. Like you said, you don't get tired and you can go all as a family, but they are more expensive. And we're talking about $4,000, $3,500. That's a lot. That's, for some people, that's a kind of a used car price, but it lets you get out as, what are your thoughts on this? Do you have any takeaways?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's definitely it's more expensive than one normal mountain bike, but the experience is great. Also, if you go on, these are mountain bikes, but probably you can, have this to commute to work. So it's
you can use it for a lot, right?
Yeah, you can use this for different things.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's just, e-bike is just starting. So hopefully, once the production will get, bigger and will be, more popular, so the prices will go.
I think you're right about that.
So it's going to be cheaper.
This is the first, one of the only women-specific electric bikes that I've seen, and I've been doing this for 5.5 years. They're more popular in Europe. Have you seen them in Spain?
Not that much. I think it's getting popular now the last couple of years.
Yeah.
We are here in US for the last 2 years. So when I was there, I was riding mountain bike with my friends. Nobody was talking about e-bike,
electric bikes, yeah.
But I think now the last 2 years is getting more popular,
Fantastic.
Because I think initially people don't think that you are doing the same kind of sport or exercise when you are, riding this versus one normal.
That's a good point. What do you think? What would you tell them?
Initially I was thinking, okay, probably, you are not doing exactly the same, but the truth is that you are doing more miles when you're riding this, because you can you can go faster and you can do.
She certainly can. She's zipping all over the place, and you get a cardio workout, so you're still balancing, you're spinning, and I think in terms of burning fat, like if you go to the gym, they don't tell you max out your heart rate. They say keep a higher heart rate for an extended period of time, and that helps you burn calories. So for this, one of the things I like about electric bikes is that safety-wise, there's some more power, and but on the other hand, you can ride on a bike trail. You don't have to ride in the street. We're in the street and we're trying to be very careful, but all of a sudden you don't need a license, you don't need registration, you can go anywhere. It's kind of like a little car in a way, but maybe healthier. Obviously I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I think these are great. But again, thank you all. Feel free to keep riding around, having some fun on your own. Again, thank you. It's been
Okay.
been a real pleasure. Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was pretty fun, right? It's neat what you can do together, whether it's riding a bike or taking a walk or whatever, just kind of sharing and trying to empower everyone in the family. I thought Carla did a great job, and she was super enthusiastic. So coming back, as promised, to the 24E from Bulls. As mentioned before, 24-inch wheels, so it brings the whole bike down. They've also got shorter cranks, so they're not going to have the pedal strikes quite as easily. The tires are still really good. These are Schwalbe Black Jacks. They've got the Active Line K-Guard, so they're puncture resistant. And they're 24 by 2.1, so the 2.1 is kind of the width here, which is, a little bit wider for increased stability, better traction with those knobby tires. It's set up kind of like a mountain bike, and the colors are maybe a little bit more masculine, the black and the blues and stuff. But I didn't hear Carla complaining about that. She just had a big smile the whole time, which is really, really wonderful to see. As mentioned before, the battery, everything's pretty well distributed in terms of weight, and it's protected from the top, or even if the bike tips from the side. I think Bosch does a good job with their Power Pack model. And now Bosch has Power Tube, which goes inside the frame, but those don't have the loop on top, and they come down the bottom. They tend to be a little bit more expensive and maybe just not as accessible as this. So I think I really like the choices they've made here, and I especially appreciate the Fushan integrated lights. It's neat to see that the bike comes with them, and even if it's not on, this one acts as a reflector. And then here's a close-up on those hydraulic disc brakes we were talking about, 160 millimeter front and rear. This bike does weigh 45.3 pounds, so that's still kind of a lot for a young person. But when you're riding a bike, it doesn't feel like it. Again, I was watching closely, trying to see if Carla was struggling or tipping, and it didn't seem like it because we got that seat in the right position. You can take the seat post out and you can cut it with a hacksaw so that the saddle can drop even lower. But just keep in mind, then you might have to replace the seat post later to get it a bit higher as they grow. 30.9 millimeters on that seat post diameter there. And then again, I appreciate that this one does have a kickstand with adjustable length. Quick release on the wheels. I believe we have 14 gauge spokes up front and 13 in the rear, so they're extra thick, a little bit more sturdy. And then the drivetrain is pretty decent. It's the 8-speed Shimano Altus, one step up from Turney, so it's kind of a lower end derailleur, but sometimes it's cheaper to replace, or they use tougher, heavier parts versus the high-end mountain bike stuff. So 11 to 34 teeth. You see you've got that extra mega range gear, the big one, that's for climbing. And then up front, we've got a more traditional chain ring. And I like that it's got an alloy guard on the side, so it's going to keep the chain from falling off quite as easily, and your pants or your dress or whatever from snagging and getting all greasy. They don't have a full chain cover, but it's still, it does a decent enough job. I'm not sure these are the stock pedals that you'd get. They might be more like the cage style metal ones, but that's something you could replace if your child slips off and cuts their shin and you're worried about that. You can get some plastic or rubberized pedals, but sometimes metal's nice because it gives you better traction on your shoe, and then you don't slip at all. So that's one area. Pretty affordable to upgrade. And then I noticed that they've even got like rack bosses, so you could potentially put a rack on this, but if you think about the rack being way up here and then the support struts that come up here, that's a long reach, and the rack could end up being tilted forward. It's nice that they're there at least. And then there are fender bosses, so you could potentially put a rear fender in the front as well, but there aren't supports down here. So a lot of times you have like a kind of a slider grab type of a thing. And, with a kid, the fenders can end up getting bumped off track and buzzing on the side of the tire. So it's kind of set up as is, works pretty well. It's a pretty basic suspension fork. It's a spring fork. This is the XCT from SR Suntour. Apparently these are like kind of a preload adjust clickers right here, but they're super, you can't do it by hand. You might need a tool, and I'm not sure I would mess with it. For me, when I was riding this around, making sure it worked out before the kids hopped on, it was really, I was getting full travel because I'm heavy, right, compared to a kid. And that gave me some confidence that for a lighter rider, there's still going to be some travel going on. And it's just nice to have the suspension fork combined with these bigger tires that give you traction and comfort. And then the handlebar up here, if we can see that stem, it's above these two spacers. Those are 10 millimeter spacers, and below the 5 millimeter here. So you could put even the 5 millimeter down here, and in this up position, it brings the handlebars up and it positions your body more upright. for more like visibility and handling and steering and maybe talking to people versus the really forward aerodynamic feel. You could flip that stem and go crazy with this thing and give your kid an aggressive body position if you wanted. But coming back to that 15.5 mile per hour top speed limit, for a bike this small, and this is one of the smallest ones I've seen, 32 centimeters. I think 15.5 miles per hour seemed good for Carla. She was having fun with it. But on the other hand, if kids start to get a little older and more confident and they want to go as fast as their parents, 20 miles per hour, you can't really do anything about that. This bike's just sort of locked in that configuration. And the Active Line Plus motor, it does offer less torque. So this is a new design for 2018 in the US. It's a little bit lighter and maybe a little bit more compact than the Performance Line motors or even the older Active Line. They kind of redid the whole thing, so it's a little bit lighter, maybe like 1.5 pounds lighter than before. 50 newton meters of torque versus 63 or even 75 on some of the other motors. And it has that full-size chainring on the other side, whereas the Performance Line motors have like a little sprocket that spins extra fast. There's a gearbox inside. This one's, it's just kind of more straightforward, but it's noticeably gentler. It's also noticeably quieter. And as someone who spends a lot of time with the Performance Line motors and stuff, there is a difference that I noticed. But if you remember Carla's face, she was just super stoked. Like, wow, this is fun. I'm going fast. I can kind of keep up. And she was ahead of the pack a couple times there, definitely ahead of her sister. So I guess that's saying something. I feel like they made a good choice with this motor, and the black casing really blends in and everything. Just coming back to the cost of this bike and this setup, it is a little bit more expensive, $28.99. You're coming up on the almost $3,000 mark, but you get the 2-year comprehensive warranty. And Bulls and Bosch, they have this, pretty extensive network of dealers, especially Bosch, and you do have backwards compatibility on that battery. So at first I was like, why didn't they just use the cheaper PowerPack 400 versus the 500 watt hour? Maybe they could have saved a few $100. But on the other hand, it's like, well, you buy in quantity, and then maybe this battery pack could be used for the parent's bike as a spare or something like that. So that was one of my question marks. About 5.7 pounds on that battery, and I'm going to try to take it off for you real quick just so you can see that in action. Got the keys here. Just insert it right there. And we twist. And then the battery just clicks up. You'll notice there's not a whole lot of clearance. Whoa, boy. Not a whole lot of clearance here with the frame. 36 volts, 13.4 amp hours. There's that loop I was talking about, and then that same charging port on the bottom that we had on the side of the bike. So you can use that exact same charger. You don't have to worry about losing parts, and it's a 4 amp charger, so it's gonna go a little bit faster. And then make sure it clicks in. There we go. Did you hear it pop? And then these keys are from Abus, and you can actually send in this code that's on the back, and you can get a folding lock or a maybe like a U-lock or chain lock from Abus that matches, so you only have one key. You don't need to worry about extras floating around. And up here to the cockpit, flat rubber grips. They're not locking, so they could kind of twist over time. It's something that's pretty cheap to replace, but I did notice they seem a little bit smaller. They're not as wide as a full adult size grip. So coming back to the kid setup, got a little bell. It's kind of a cheap bell, basic, but nice to have. And then these 2-finger levers, Tektro, hydraulic. They do have adjustable reach, so there's a set screw in there, and you can bring them in a little bit for someone who has those smaller hands. And for me, it's 2 fingers, but maybe for a kid, it'd be a 3-finger brake, so they can really get that strength going. And then coming back to the 160 millimeter rotors, front and rear. I realize maybe we're covering the same things twice, but I wanted to be thorough and just give you just all the details. I did measure this frame size, so I came in with my own tape measure, and I measured the seat tube and the reach and the standover height, and that's a particularly important one. Like, can your child actually get over this? And maybe at first, I remember when I was a kid, I would hang one leg over the side. I couldn't touch on both sides, but once I was up and pedaling, I was just having a blast. And coming back to those smaller diameter wheels, it brings the whole bike down. Like, I'm stoked on this thing. I think it's tons of fun. And maybe now we can go back up to that display. I talked about it a little bit before. The Purion's probably a good choice for this bike. compared to the Intuvia. The Intuvia is a little bit larger and it has adjustable angle. It's removable. It has an active micro USB port and stuff, but then it could get lost, right? So this one's maybe a little tougher. It's smaller. The girls did have maybe a little bit of trouble at first pushing the buttons because when you push near the bottom, they don't click. And even the middle can be inconsistent. It's best to do it kind of on this upper edge here to get it to click. Yeah, consistently. And then there's walk mode. I didn't talk about this because I didn't want to confuse everyone, but if you press that and then you hold the plus button, the bike will push itself. So you can imagine maybe the family wants to stop and walk through the park at a craft fair or something, or maybe you got a flat tire, or you're going through some grass and whatever. You just want to hop off. You can press that walk mode for a second and then hold plus, and the motor will help you and it'll move those 45 pounds of weight, so you don't have to worry about it. And I think that's really cool. Another nice little feature. Not all the bikes have enabled that use Bosch, so I like that Bulls left it in here, even if people don't know about it or don't try to use it. But I think that's kind of it. Since most of the riding that was done before was with the girls, and it was third person, I thought I'd hop on this thing and do a little ride of my own and try to shine the camera around to different parts of the bike. I'm going to be really, kind of cramped on this frame, but hopefully this still gives you some good detail. It's feeling pretty good. Even, it's a little bit squirrely for me riding no hands because the smaller wheel. A little twitchier when we've got this much weight, cramped up high like this. But I'm doing okay. I am in turbo mode. Again, it's super quiet. If you've seen my other reviews, or if you look at the ladies' bike from Bulls, the Aminga that I'm also reviewing with this family, it's a lot louder. It uses the CX Performance Line motor. So this one's quiet. It's smooth. Probably want to shift gears a little bit to maximize power right now. There we go. We got the shift detection working. You can hear it a little bit more now, the motor. There we go, and I'm exceeding my top assisted speed there. That's where the motor was kind of cutting out for a second. I'm gonna change it back to miles per hour. There we go. So right around 15.5. Right now there's no motor assist. Yep. So pretty cool. Definitely neater than the bike I had when I was a kid, but the same sort of fun philosophy, just getting outside, having a good time. For the full write-up on this and all the other 2018 Bulls electric bikes, I'll see you back at ElectricBikeReview.com. And again, for the ladies' Aminga frame that Paolo was riding, I'll have that out as well shortly, so you can check those both out. Have fun out there. Of course, ride safe.